Jax's revenge domain. Your employment with Mitchell Industries ends today, Lucas, my brother Shane announced, his manicured fingers tapping against the glass conference table. Please have your belongings removed from the premises by 5 p.m. I looked around the executive boardroom, taking in the shocked expressions of the department heads, the uncomfortable shifting of our legal counsel, and the barely concealed triumph dancing in Shane's eyes. He'd been planning this moment for months, probably years, if I'm being honest. The crown of CEO had finally been placed on his head 3 days ago, and now he was wielding his new power like a weapon. Understood, I replied, my voice calm and measured. I gathered my tablet and portfolio, offering a polite nod to the executives who had worked alongside me for the better part of 15 years. I'll make sure everything is handled appropriately. As I walked toward the door, I caught the confusion on our CFO's face, the concern from our operations director, and the absolute satisfaction radiating from Shane. He thought he'd won. He thought he'd finally removed the competition, the brother who had always been one step ahead in everything that mattered to our family business. The heavy door clicked shut behind me, and I allowed myself the smallest smile. My brother had no idea what he'd just done. My name is Lucas Mitchell. I'm 47 years old, and until approximately 10 minutes ago, I held the position of Executive Vice President of Development at Mitchell Industries, the commercial real estate and infrastructure firm my grandfather established in 1965. For 15 years, I'd been the backbone of this company's expansion into government contracts and infrastructure projects that transformed us from a regional player in Dallas, Texas, into a nationally recognized development powerhouse with federal security clearances. While Shane spent his time networking at country club events and positioning himself as the face of Mitchell Industries, I was in the trenches negotiating with government agencies, military contractors, and infrastructure investors. While he perfected his media presence and cultivated relationships with board members, I was building the actual business that funded his lifestyle and reputation. See, here's what most people don't understand about the construction and development industry, especially the government side. It's not about who you know at cocktail parties. It's about who trusts you with a $30 million airport renovation when lives are on the line. It's about having the security clearance to bid on military housing projects. It's about understanding that when the Department of Defense needs something built, they don't care about your Harvard MBA. They care about whether you can deliver on time, on budget, and to spec. I learned that in the Navy. Spent 8 years as an officer before getting my MBA and joining the family business. Shane went straight from college to the company, never worked anywhere else, never had to prove himself outside the family bubble. My assistant, Ashley Coleman, jumped up from her desk as I approached my office. Lucas, what just happened? There are rumors flying around that... It's true, I interrupted gently, ushering her into my office and closing the door. Shane terminated my position. I need to clear out today. Ashley's face went pale. He can't do that. This company would collapse without you. You've brought in every major government contract we've had in the last 8 years. He can, and he has. I moved to my desk and unlocked the bottom drawer, pulling out a navy blue leather folder I'd been maintaining for exactly this scenario. But here's what Shane doesn't know. He doesn't understand how this business actually operates. Ashley watched as I opened the folder, revealing documents I'd carefully organized over the past 6 years. Partnership agreements, consulting contracts, and legal structures that would look innocent to anyone who didn't understand their true purpose. Remember when I created Mitchell Development Group 6 years ago? I asked, spreading the documents across my desk. Her eyes widened with sudden understanding. The independent consulting firm. You said it was for tax optimization and flexibility in government negotiations. It was for much more than that. I couldn't help the satisfaction in my voice. Every major project we've developed in the last 6 years, the contracts don't run through Mitchell Industries as the primary developer. They run through Mitchell Development Group, with Mitchell Industries serving as the construction and management partner. Ashley sat down heavily in one of my office chairs. You mean... I mean that I technically own the development rights to every active project in our portfolio. The Veterans Affairs Housing Complex in San Antonio, mine. The airport expansion in Houston, mine. The federal courthouse renovation downtown, mine. Mitchell Industries is contracted to handle construction and property management. But the development agreements, the government relationships, the actual profit participation, those all belong to Mitchell Development Group. The realization spread across Ashley's face. How did the board approve this? They approved it enthusiastically, actually. 6 years ago, when I proposed the structure to our father and the board, I positioned it as a way to provide more agile deal-making capabilities. Dad was concerned about liability exposure and thought having a separate consulting entity would protect the main company. The board saw it as smart business structuring. Shane was too focused on his VP of marketing role to even attend those meetings. I pulled out another document, this one showing the current active projects. We have 8 developments in various stages right now, combined value of approximately $180 million. Mitchell Industries' role is important, but it's not irreplaceable. My relationships with the government agencies, the security clearances, and the contractor networks, those are irreplaceable. Ashley leaned forward. What are you going to do? Before I could answer, my phone rang. It was Hunter Davis from Federal Infrastructure Partners, one of our largest government contracting partners. I put it on speaker. Lucas, I just received a very strange email from someone named Shane Mitchell, claiming he's now my primary contact for the VA housing expansion project. I kept my voice professional. Good afternoon, Hunter. Yes, there have been some organizational changes at Mitchell Industries. Shane is the new CEO. I don't care if he's the Secretary of Defense, Hunter replied bluntly. My contracts are with Mitchell Development Group, which means they're with you, Lucas. Is there something I should be concerned about regarding your security clearance status? Not at all. I'm simply transitioning out of my role at Mitchell Industries. Mitchell Development Group remains fully operational and committed to all existing projects. There was a pause. So, you're leaving Mitchell Industries but continuing with our projects? That's correct. All development agreements remain in full effect. Good, because if you had said otherwise, I'd be calling my attorneys right now to discuss breach of contract. Shane Mitchell has never been involved in any of our dealings, and I have no intention of starting now. Plus, he doesn't have the clearance level required for our projects anyway. After ending the call, I looked at Ashley. That's going to be the first of many similar conversations today. My phone immediately rang again. This time it was Colonel Jessica Morgan, retired, who now ran a major construction management firm. By 3 p.m. that afternoon, I'd received calls from 5 different government agencies and contractors, all expressing confusion or concern about Shane's outreach attempts. Not one of them had any interest in working with him directly. They'd all signed contracts with me through Mitchell Development Group, and they expected me to continue managing their projects. More importantly, Shane didn't have the security clearances required for most of our government work. That process takes years and requires extensive background checks, military references, and proven track record. You can't just inherit it when you become CEO. Ashley had started packing my personal items, but we both knew this wasn't really goodbye. What's your next move? She asked. First, I'm going to finish coordinating with the Defense Department about the base housing project timeline. I glanced at my computer screen where I had an ongoing email exchange. Then, I'm going to go home, pour myself a very large bourbon, and start planning the future of Mitchell Development Group as a fully independent firm. You mean you're not going back to work with Mitchell Industries at all? I shook my head. Why would I? Shane has made it clear he doesn't want me here. He's given me the perfect opportunity to break free from family politics and build something that's truly mine. The only question is whether I want to continue using Mitchell Industries as my construction partner or find new partners who might be more reliable. Ashley bit her lip. Lucas, can I be completely honest with you? Always. I submitted my resignation to HR an hour ago. I told them my last day would be Friday, but I'm hoping you'll consider bringing me on board with Mitchell Development Group. I've been your assistant for 6 years, and I'd rather continue working with you than stay here under Shane's management. The gesture touched me more than I expected. Ashley, I would be absolutely grateful to have you, but I need to be honest. I'm building this from scratch. It won't have the stability of Mitchell Industries, at least not immediately. I'll take my chances with you, she said firmly. You're the one who actually knows how to run this business. At exactly 4:30, my office phone rang with an internal extension I recognized immediately. Shane's new CEO office. We need to talk, he said without preamble when I answered. Sure, I'll be there in 5 minutes. When I entered Shane's office, the corner suite that had belonged to our father until his retirement last month, I found him standing by the floor-to-ceiling windows, his posture rigid with tension. What have you done? He demanded, spinning to face me. I've packed my belongings as requested. I'll be out by 5 p.m. Don't play games with me, Lucas. I've spent the last 3 hours fielding calls from contractors and government agencies, all of whom are telling me they won't work with Mitchell Industries without you. What kind of poison have you been spreading? I remained calm, taking a seat in one of his guest chairs without being invited. I haven't spread anything. I've simply been answering questions about the transition, honestly. The contractors have agreements with Mitchell Development Group, my firm. They're understandably concerned about continuity. Shane's face flushed. Your firm? You work for Mitchell Industries. I worked for Mitchell Industries. Past tense. As of this morning, you terminated that employment. However, I own Mitchell Development Group, which holds the development rights to all our major government projects. That company is independent and will continue operating regardless of my employment status here. This is sabotage. He moved behind his desk as if the physical barrier would give him more authority. You deliberately set this up to undermine the company. I set this up with full board approval 6 years ago as a legitimate business structure. Every document was reviewed by our corporate attorneys. Every contract was signed with proper authorization. This isn't sabotage, Shane. This is simply the reality of how our business has been operating for years. You would know that if you'd ever bothered to understand the actual mechanics of what we do instead of just enjoying the benefits. Dad will never forgive you for this. There was his favorite weapon. Our father's approval had always been the ultimate prize in our household, the thing we'd both competed for since childhood. Shane had usually won that battle through charm and social grace. I'd won through business competence and military service, but Dad had always been more impressed by Shane's people skills. Dad approved the structure, I reminded him. If he has concerns now, he can address them with me directly. But I suspect he'll be more interested in understanding why you fired the person responsible for generating most of this company's government revenue without first understanding what that would mean for ongoing operations. Shane pressed his palms flat against his desk. The board is calling an emergency meeting for tomorrow morning. Your presence is mandatory. I don't work for Mitchell Industries anymore, remember? I stood, straightening my jacket. I have 8 active projects that need my attention, and I can't spend my time in meetings for a company that just terminated my employment. As I walked toward the door, Shane's voice stopped me. Why did you do this, Lucas? Why did you create that consulting company in the first place, if not to eventually use it against us? I turned back to face him. The question deserved an honest answer. 4 years ago, I watched you take credit for the military base housing deal in a board presentation. You presented my analysis, my contractor relationships, my security clearance work as if they were your own achievements. Dad congratulated you afterward and told me I should learn from your presentation skills. I paused, letting the memory settle between us. That's when I realized that no matter how much value I created for Mitchell Industries, it would always be the family company, not my company. I would always be working to enhance your reputation, support Dad's legacy, and build something that would never truly be mine. The consulting firm wasn't a weapon, Shane. It was a life raft. I just never expected to need it quite this soon. The emergency board meeting the next morning was everything I expected it to be. My attorney, Rachel Bennett, attended while I spent the morning on a conference call with 3 different government agencies, assuring them of continued project management excellence. Rachel called me at noon with a full report. They're panicking, she said bluntly. Shane tried to argue that your consulting firm structure was a breach of fiduciary duty and that the board should pursue legal action to force transfer of the contracts back to Mitchell Industries. My stomach tightened despite my confidence in our legal position. And 3 board members who were present when the structure was originally approved shut him down immediately. They have the meeting minutes from 6 years ago showing that your father enthusiastically endorsed the arrangement. They remember that it was positioned as a strategic advantage for the company. So, no lawsuit, no lawsuit. Instead, they've authorized Shane to negotiate a formal partnership agreement with Mitchell Development Group. They want to lock you in as their exclusive development partner for at least 5 years. I leaned back in my temporary home office chair. They fire me on Monday, then want to hire my company on Wednesday. That's rich. The offer is actually quite substantial. They're proposing a guaranteed annual minimum of $1.5 million plus performance bonuses tied to project profitability. Essentially, they want to formalize the arrangement you already had, but with better compensation and clear terms. What's Shane's position on this? According to my contacts in the room, he fought it until the very end. The board gave him a choice: accept the partnership with your firm or resign as CEO. The company can't survive without the active government projects, and those projects can't continue without you. After ending the call, I sat in silence, processing the implications. I'd expected leverage, but this was beyond what I'd anticipated. Mitchell Industries wasn't just acknowledging my value, they were completely dependent on me. Over the following weeks, Mitchell Development Group transformed from a paper entity into a thriving independent firm. I secured a long-term lease on a professional office suite, hired a team of 6 professionals, including 2 former military officers, and established partnerships with 2 construction management firms that could handle the execution side of our developments. The decision about Mitchell Industries remained complicated. The board's offer still stood: take the partnership deal and maintain a professional relationship with Shane. My father called weekly to check in and gently advocate for some kind of reconciliation. But every day I spent building Mitchell Development Group reinforced my sense that I was on the right path. The company culture we were creating was merit-based and mission-focused. There were no family politics, no historical baggage, just a team of talented people working toward shared goals. 6 weeks after Shane fired me, he requested a meeting, just the 2 of us at a neutral location. We met at a steakhouse downtown, the kind of place where government contractors and business people make deals over bourbon and handshakes. Shane looked exhausted, his usual polished appearance showing cracks. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, and his suit was slightly wrinkled. "You look tired," I said as we both sat down with our drinks. "I haven't slept properly in weeks," he admitted. "Running Mitchell Industries is nothing like I thought it would be, especially when half the government agencies won't return my calls and the other half are actively hostile because they blame me for driving you away." He wrapped his hands around his bourbon glass. "The board is pressuring me to step down. Dad is pressuring me to convince you to come back, and I'm sitting here wondering how everything fell apart so quickly." I waited, letting him continue. "I fired you because I was jealous," he said finally, his voice barely above a whisper. "You were always the smart one, the capable one, the one with the military credibility and the government connections. I thought if I removed you, everyone would finally see me as the leader instead of just the guy who gives good presentations. But all I did was prove that I don't actually know what I'm doing without you there to handle the real work." The honesty surprised me. Shane had never been particularly self-aware about our dynamic. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Because I'm asking you to come back, not as my employee, but as CEO. The board wants it. Dad wants it. And honestly, I want it too. I'm not cut out for this role, and pretending otherwise is destroying both me and the company." I studied my brother across the table. For the first time in our lives, he was being completely honest about our respective strengths and limitations. It was the vulnerability I'd been waiting for, the acknowledgement that we had different capabilities. But it still didn't change my fundamental reality. "Shane, I appreciate your honesty. I really do, and I'm glad you're recognizing where your skills are best utilized. But I've spent the last 6 weeks building something that's mine. Not the family's, not Dad's legacy, but genuinely mine. And I'm not sure I want to give that up to return to Mitchell Industries, even as CEO." Shane's expression hardened slightly. "So you'd rather see the company struggle? I'd rather see you and the board find a solution that doesn't require me to sacrifice what I'm building. Mitchell Industries was successful before I created Mitchell Development Group. It can be successful again with the right leadership and structure." We finished our drinks in tense silence. The honesty had only gone so far before we hit the wall of our fundamental conflict. Shane wanted to maintain some version of the family dynamic while having me solve his problems. I wanted to pursue my own path without being pulled back into old patterns. As we parted ways, Shane made one final appeal. "The board is meeting next week to make final decisions. They're going to offer you the CEO position formally. I'm asking you as your brother to consider it seriously. Not for me, not even for Dad, but for grandfather's legacy." That night, I reviewed the financial projections for Mitchell Development Group. In just 6 weeks, we demonstrated solid growth potential. With 8 active government projects and interest from 3 new agencies, we were positioned for significant expansion. Adding Mitchell Industries as an official client would provide stability, but it wouldn't be necessary for survival. I also reviewed the formal offer from Mitchell Industries' board. The compensation package was extraordinary, far more than I'd ever made as an executive there. The CEO role would come with complete operational authority, board support, and the resources of an established company. On paper, it was the obvious choice. Take the CEO position, repair the relationship with Shane, lead the family company into its next chapter of growth. It was what any reasonable business person would choose. But I'd spent too many years being reasonable, accommodating, and putting the family company's needs above my own aspirations. This moment represented something different. The chance to build something entirely my own, without the weight of family expectations or the complications of shared legacy. I made my decision. The board meeting was scheduled for Tuesday morning. On Monday evening, I sent a formal letter to the board chair declining their CEO offer but proposing an alternative arrangement. Mitchell Development Group would enter into a 5-year strategic partnership with Mitchell Industries. My firm would continue managing all existing government projects and would give Mitchell Industries first right of refusal on new opportunities. In exchange, Mitchell Industries would provide construction management services at preferred rates. It was a partnership of equals, not a subordinate relationship. It preserved the business connections while maintaining my independence. The board accepted my counterproposal within 24 hours. They also announced that they'd hired an external CEO candidate with extensive infrastructure experience to take over leadership of Mitchell Industries. Shane would transition to Chief Marketing Officer, a role where he could leverage his actual strengths. 3 months after my brother fired me, I stood in the completed office space of Mitchell Development Group. We now had a team of 6, partnership agreements with 3 construction firms, and a government project pipeline worth $200 million. Ashley walked in with a bottle of good bourbon and 2 glasses. Celebrating the airport expansion groundbreaking tomorrow? Celebrating all of it, I replied, accepting a glass. The fact that we're here, that we're thriving, that we built this from nothing in just 3 months. My phone buzzed with a message from Shane. Saw the announcement about the airport project. Congratulations on the groundbreaking. The marketing team at Mitchell Industries would love to partner on promoting it if you're interested. I smiled at the message. It was professional, cordial, and represented a healthier relationship than Shane and I had maintained in years. We were no longer competing for the same space or fighting over the same resources. We each had our own domains where we could excel. I responded, "Let's schedule a call next week to discuss. Would be good to coordinate our approaches." 2 weeks later, I received an unexpected call from my father. He'd been mostly quiet during my transition, offering occasional support, but generally staying out of the business dynamics between his sons. "I wanted you to know that the board is recognizing you at the annual Mitchell Industries Gala next month," he said. "They're giving you the Founders Award for contributions to the company's success." I was genuinely surprised. That's unexpected. It's overdue. The board recognizes that much of Mitchell Industries' current success is built on the foundation you created. The new CEO has done an excellent job, but he's working with the client relationships, the project structures, and the business processes you developed. They want to acknowledge that. Will Shane be comfortable with this? He's the one who nominated you. He told the board that failing to recognize your contributions would be a continued injustice. The gala was a strange, full-circle moment. I walked into the ballroom where I'd attended countless Mitchell Industries events over the years, but this time as the CEO of my own firm rather than as an executive trying to prove his worth. Shane found me before the program started. He looked better than he had at the steakhouse, more relaxed, like he'd found his footing in the marketing role. "Thank you for coming," he said. "I know these events aren't your favorite. Thank you for the nomination. You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did. You built the foundation for what Mitchell Industries has become. Pretending otherwise would be dishonest." He paused, then extended his hand. "I wanted to apologize properly, not just for firing you, but for years of taking credit for your work. I was insecure and competitive when I should have been grateful to have such a capable brother." I shook his hand. "We're both where we need to be now." During the ceremony, as I accepted the Founders Award, I looked out at the audience, business leaders, government contractors, and military veterans who had become both clients and friends. My father was there, beaming with pride in a way I hadn't seen since my Navy commissioning. Shane was applauding genuinely, no longer threatened by my success because he'd found his own path. In my brief acceptance speech, I kept it simple. This award represents not just my work, but the collaborative effort of everyone who believed in building something meaningful. The real success isn't in the recognition. It's in the bridges we've built, the housing we've created for veterans, and the infrastructure that serves our communities. After the ceremony, my father pulled me aside. "I owe you an apology too," he said. "I should have seen what was happening between you and Shane years ago. I should have valued your operational expertise as much as I valued his people skills. I made mistakes in how I managed the succession. We all made mistakes, Dad. The important thing is where we are now. Are you happy with your decision? Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you'd taken the CEO role?" I considered the question seriously. Sometimes, but I think I needed to build something that was truly mine. Mitchell Development Group isn't just a business. It's proof that the values you taught me, the discipline I learned in the Navy, and the relationships I've built over 15 years can create something lasting. He smiled. "Your grandfather would be proud. He always said the Mitchell name should represent excellence, regardless of which company carries it forward." As I drove home that evening, I reflected on the journey from that dramatic firing 6 months ago to this moment of recognition and reconciliation. Shane had thought he was removing an obstacle when he fired me. Instead, he'd freed me to discover what I was truly capable of when unshackled from family politics and expectations. The irony was perfect. The moment that was supposed to be my defeat had become the foundation for something better than I'd ever imagined. The smile I'd felt when Shane terminated my employment, that was the sound of possibilities opening, of a future unfolding that was finally completely mine. Today, Mitchell Development Group continues to grow. We've expanded into renewable energy projects and smart city infrastructure. The partnership with Mitchell Industries remains strong and professional. Shane and I speak regularly about business matters and occasionally grab bourbon to catch up on family news. We're both successful, we're both happy, and most importantly, we're both building legacies worthy of the Mitchell name, just in our own ways. Sometimes the greatest gift someone can give you is forcing you to bet on yourself. When Shane fired me, he unknowingly handed me the keys to a life I never would have had the courage to build while still comfortable in the family nest.